But the U.S. and South Korea have also been engaged in a dialogue centered around free trade. Well, in an effort to boost U.S. exports, President Obama has been pushing a free trade deal that would have South Korea drop a ban on some U.S. beef and also remove auto safety and environmental rules, which some say hurt U.S. car makers trying to sell into the Korean market. Well, the White House says the deal could add at least $10 billion to U.S. GDP, but the president is now leaving Seoul without an agreement. Let's talk about U.S.-Korea relations now with Thomas Hubbard. He's a senior director of the Korea Society. Mr. Hubbard also served as U.S. ambassador to South Korea from 2001 to 2004. Thank you, Mr. Hubbard, for joining us on this Friday.
It's good to be with you, Lisa.
How important was it to come to an agreement? I mean, certainly the president, his critics are saying this is a real setback. It's also a show of no confidence by another Asian country. But what are the real political implications of this? And then we want to go to the real implications to our economy.
Yeah. Well, I think first it is very important that this U.S.-Korea KORUS free trade agreement be implemented as soon as possible. It's a very important agreement for both countries, as you say. It will add very substantially to U.S. exports and to jobs in the United States. We were somewhat disappointed that the two presidents were not able to agree this week in Seoul on the final elements of the agreement, but I am encouraged that they narrowed the differences. Both presidents reaffirmed their support for the agreement. President Obama says he hopes to move forward to solve these issues in the next several weeks, and so I remain optimistic that this agreement will come into effect before too long.
What were the main sticking points here to them not coming to an agreement?
The main issues revolve around beef and automobiles. The U.S. had hoped to see the Korean market fully open to U.S. beef imports. The market is largely open now. There are a few categories of beef that are not allowed, and we had hoped to get it fully open. This is a very sensitive issue politically for Koreans and for President Lee Myung-bak in particular. On the other side, the U.S. had hoped to get some additional measures that would make it easier for American companies to export their cars to Korea. Again, I think they made some progress on that, but not enough that President Obama felt satisfied that he could sell the agreement to Congress. So I think the remaining issues are really very small. The industries affected, automobiles and beef, are again very narrow and but important, and certainly I'm hopeful that we'll be able to solve these remaining issues very quickly so that the agreement can go before our Congress early next year.
Let's talk a little bit about the relationship between Korea and China. They now have a larger trading relationship than Korea does with the U.S. To what extent did some of the conversation perhaps that we've been having with China impact what's going on in Korea right now?
Well, I think the China issues did not have a direct impact on the talks about the Korea-U.S. free trade agreement. They did have a broader impact on the results of the G20, as has been mentioned earlier. But I think not only does Korea have a larger trading relationship with China than with the U.S., it also has a larger trading relationship with the European Union and with Japan than it has with the United States. We're now number 4. As President Obama said the other day, we like to be number 1, and this agreement is one that will help us get back to that status.
And very quickly, what about what's happening in North Korea? To what extent was this a key agreement to have reached in order to perhaps influence what happens in North Korea over the, say, next 10 years, next 20 years?
Well, this free trade agreement will be an important addition to our long-standing bilateral alliance. It will strengthen the overall ties between the U.S. and the ROK, and those ties, in turn, are very crucial to solving the long-term problems on the Korean Peninsula, including North Korea's nuclear problem.
All right, Thomas Hubbard, thank you very much for joining us this Friday. You're Senior Director at Korea Society and former U.S. Ambassador to South Korea.